All right, we are back. We are live. It is time for session 9, titled Words Pay No Debts. It's been a while. Our group has not been together for probably a little bit over a month now, due to scheduling on everyone's behalf, mostly mine probably, but really happy to have you guys all back and get back into this campaign, and hopefully we can get it back on schedule. So I'm not going to bother going into any more detail than that, but like I just recapped with you guys off camera, we're going to say only maybe an hour has passed since Veltrax, the Griffin, has been healed by Octavius. The Chimera has been exploded by, I believe, no other than Warrendale. I'm pretty sure is the one who took it out. I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened. Blasted him with some kind of chromatic orb. But yeah, you're sitting in this sky castle, high above the land, with Zephyros kind of petting over his griffins. You remember that their names are Smoochy, Griffers, Stuart, and Veltrex. And he just, again, after everything's kind of settled down, looks to you all and says, "See, I knew you all would be great heroes. Did you see how well you fought there? I don't even know what that beast was, but it had more heads than I could count. You guys are amazing. I didn't even need to help."
Putting that one down in the books. Fought Chimera.
What a mighty beast.
A terrible creature. I can't believe it would attack my sweet sky kitties. What kind of beast would do such a thing? They're so sweet and nice. And he goes and like
I believe that was called a scorpion-winged flying death beast.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Known as chimeras.
A chimera. The name does sound familiar.
But either.
Well, we've been traveling for about 4 or 5 days now. So, and he goes up to this big orb that's floating, kind of on the second level that you guys are at, and he starts to hover his hand around it, and you hear it start to hum, and basically feel the castle that you're on starting to shift. He's somehow controlling this floating castle with this orb. And he's looking into it. Bryn Shanders. Well, it's about... And you hear him start to mumble to himself, to which he still tells you that there's still 2 more 10 days to go. So roughly 20 odd days of travel before we arrive. So he kind of looks to you and says, well, I guess we'll all become rather acquainted with each other. Make yourselves at home, I guess. This is going to be quite the trip.
We already are acquainted with each other.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But you're new to me, ish. Yeah. And it's been a pleasure having you on this castle. You know, my cats they're nice and all, but they don't make the best for conversation. And over these 5 days, it's been really nice to talk to other people.
I would imagine.
Now, Bellatrix is still pretty jacked up, right? Like she's healed.
She's healed and calmed down a bit. She still seems a bit timish. Veltrex was definitely the proudest of all the Griffins.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell just by looking at her that she's a little ticked off that she was the one that got injured out of all of them. Like, it definitely hurt her pride, I guess, is what you can say. So she's kind of nestled in closely under Zephyros' arm and has her head buried into his hand and is kind of just rubbing it back and forth.
Sunny walks over to Zephyros and to Bellatrix and sits next to it like you would taming a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And starts looking it directly in the eyes and says, "We can be friends, just like you are with Zephyros. There's absolutely no reason for you to want to attack me or my cat." And she reaches up and massages Rilik's head. And as you would with a unfamiliar dog or any other animal, she starts reaching her hand out so that it can smell her, so on and so forth. Trying to use its vulnerable situation to make friends with the clearly alpha of the griffin.
And as you reach your hand out, I don't imagine it even timidly, but just cautiously, with like a sense of respect, it kind of looks at you and just lets out a mighty squawk right at you.
She doesn't jump.
Then it's at that point that I'll get you to make an animal handling check to see if there's enough respect warranted there for you. Beautiful. So yeah, go ahead and describe what that looks like. Actually, I'm cool with that. You roll a 21.
So she definitely she's terrified inside because this thing is what, twice the size of her, and she's the largest person in the party. But she doesn't waver. She's had to befriend animals before, certainly even in Azteca. Her tribe is known for actually having bears as companions. So, when you find a new rogue bear, especially if it's wandering in your land, you have to make friends with it. So it squawks at her, and she inside wants to die because she feels as if that this enormous bird is going to eat her. And Rilix even kind of hides back and kind of crawls back into her hood. But she perseveres. She keeps her hand out, knowing that she can't make the first move. But after a few moments, that Bellatrix realizes that she's not intimidated by her, which is probably what she uses, I would assume, most of the time to show her dominance. In her weakened state, she kind of leans her head down and kind of gets close, breathes out of her nose holes of a beak, as many have seen probably before. It blows the fur on Sunny's arm, and it kind of fluffs it up a little bit. And she, you can see her squawk a couple times towards her, and she butts her with her beak one time right in the hand. She doesn't waver again, and Belcher kind of looks at Zephyros, looks back at Sunny, looks back at Zephyros, and then ducks her head. Sunny knows that's going to be her point in which she's going to be able to pet the bird, and she does.
Excellent. And Zephyros is kind of watching this all kind of go down, and he's just, I've never seen Veltrex take to anybody else. That's well, I guess she's never met anybody else, but that's a starter, I suppose. Interesting. Good on you. And he kind of holds out his giant hand to like shake yours, but in comparison,
I grab onto his one finger.
Yeah, and he two fingers your hand and kind of just like shakes it.
Yeah. It's just that if we're going to be here for 20 more days, we can't live in fear of these animals. So this isn't the first animal I've tried to tame. So it's she's magnificent.
Thank you. I love them all like they're my children. They are quite good. And he smiles kind of proudly, like a proud parent would. As this is all going down, what's everybody else doing? What's Octavios? What's Livy? And what's Warren up to as this kind of exchange between Mighty Beast and Sunlit goes down?
Octavius would be quiet and reserved, off by himself, just in a part of the room, not hiding, but quiet and sullen, thinking basically and intrigued. He'd be tired after the whole escapade of what happened with the bird still, and just everything else. He's definitely used. He's feeling the tariffs of his deeds from the last little while, all adding up more than they ever have in his life before, and now he's smiling on the outside, but inside he's stirring with emotion, and he's feeling he's feeling the pains of the past.
Absolutely.
Just basically sitting there sullen.
And if we remember correctly from the fight with the Chimera, Octavius barely made it out of there with his consciousness. He currently sits at only 2 HP. So you took a beating of a lifetime during that fight. So yeah, you're definitely feeling the exhaustion. What about everybody else?
I would think Livy would be offering a hand. It's like, "Can I get you anything, Octavius?"
No, it's okay. Tend to the group, and I'll be fine.
She'll look around, like kind of that, like have that questioning look, and she'll kind of look at the others. Everyone else looks okay. Or are they equally or in a similar kind of?
You yourself are pretty beat up, and Warrendel's taken a couple hits, but Sunny's in mint shape. She didn't get touched in the fight. It's just you three that are fairly injured.
She'll just kind of like Carrie's look like, "I'm gonna make some tea." He said, "Make yourself at home." So she'll march off, just like not even like considering that she's probably going to be working with giant teapots or what she'll be boiling tea with, and she'll just march off to do that. And if she needs help, she'll ask for it later when she gets there and realizes, "Oh, I'm kind of small for this."
Pan over to an image of Livy pushing like a tea kettle with all of her might, and it's just like quadruple the size of her.
I can do this. I can do this.
To which
My Dex space fighter.
Zephyros would help you out. What about Warrendale?
After the battle, Warren kind of that rebellious sort of look, when somebody leans up against the wall, has their foot propped up on it. He's kind of cleaning out underneath his fingernails with his small blade that he has. You can see the crackles of lightning and bits of electricity kind of crackling over his body still. Has a bit of a grimace on his face, not looking like he's in the best of moods. Just kind of watching Livy as she walks away. He'll give Octavius a few glances, make sure the man's all right, but otherwise he just kind of stares at Suni, a bit expressionless as he watches her nuzzle with this griffin.
Absolutely. And as you are having this exchange with Veltrex, Sunny, she kind of the griffin pulls away momentarily and kind of just ruffles up its feathers again, almost like in a moment you have like a feeling that it's aggression, and she lets out another like loud squawk, and it kind of echoes. And then behind you, you start to hear the sounds of more wings ruffling and just a whole bunch of commotion. And as you look behind you, the other three all drop into the roost from different kind of openings in the top of this tower that you guys are in. And one by one, they all kind of approach you. And now that you were able to at least gain the respect of Veltrex, the three others follow suit and all kind of surround you. And there's a moment where you have four of these griffins that are all like considerably larger than you, kind of piling in towards you and nuzzling their head against you. And it's probably a bit rough, but it's not out of aggression. It's just out of kind of feeling you out.
Yeah, and she certainly would give enough pushback that it wasn't creating aggression, but she doesn't want to be let them know that they're intimidating her. So she would definitely play back forcibly, but not to make aggression happen.
Absolutely. And then we're going to jump right into it as this scene kind of ends. At least we're going to say a full day goes by. Everyone gets a long rest. So you're all back to full health, full spells. I'll do that on... Actually, I can just do this on...
We'll do that for you.
Right now. Long rest. There you go. Everyone's healed up and spell slots are returned. And the first day after the aftermath or after the fight is kind of a lazy one. And what I picture is everyone's kind of sitting in the main common room where the library is. And we have Livy, and I believe it was Octavius was going through books. And we'll say that Warren and Sunny are doing whatever they please, but it's after about a good midday that Zephyros is going through books, and he comes across and looks to you, Octavius, and says, weren't you the one talking about this warm skull throne?
Ah, yes, I remember this now. I did bring that up. Did you find something?
Yes, this book right here. And he kind of holds it out, and it talks. And the cover of it mentions something about the giant lords of Faerun. And as he's kind of flipping through it, he starts going one by one, kind of pointing out the different giant lords. And the first one he comes up to is Chief Gu. And each one of these have a portrait of who they are. And he explains to you that this chief is the leader of the hill giants. And a picture will momentarily pop up of what she looks like. And it's just this portrait of this absolutely massively bulbous hill giant that has all kinds of necklaces and jewelry on her, but it's in the form of weapons that she defeated of small folk. She wears a well on top of her head and has these giant vultures picking off flesh from the victims that she's devoured. And he mentions that Chief Gu is not the most pleasant of giants, and she's rather, he tries to think of a way to put it politely, disgusting looking, and just all around disgusting. But yeah, hopefully, yeah, stay clear of her. And then he'll go on to the next one, who is the Thane of the Stone Giants. And this female's name is Kayalithica. And he'll show you a picture of what she looks like. And basically, it's a giant that looks like they're pretty much completely made out of this dark stone. And she's completely bald and really has like no feminine qualities to her. He would go on to explain that the stone giants basically like to hang out underground, and they don't really understand you small folk. They think that what you do above ground is kind of disrespectful, but they just don't understand, and they kind of do their own thing. But yeah, stone giants, they normally aren't that bad. She's a little bit much, but the other ones are pretty calm. And then he'd go on to a picture of the Frost Giants, who is a Jarl by the name of Strolvad. And he would show you a mighty picture of this Jarl, who is this long, white, snowy beard Frost Giant who wears this great helm with these spiraling horns of some giant beast you could only assume, and would tell you that he is one of the fiercest and greatest fighters that the Frost Giants have ever known. Continuing on, he would explain to you of a friar giant named Duke Zalto, who is a mighty tyrant who, through his great smithing ability, was able to rise to the top of the fire giants, and him and his fire giants under him build weapons and other equipment and whatnot that no other people rival. They're just expert smiths and whatnot, and very ferocious. The next and second last would be Countess Sansuri, which is the Countess of the Cloud Giants, who is currently technically my ruler, Zephyros says. But let's not. Me and her don't necessarily see eye to eye. Pretty sure she'd have me locked away at the very least if we came into contact with each other. You see, most giants don't like you small folk. But she kind of takes it to another level. She really, really, really doesn't like you small folk. And I don't know. I'm a cloud giant, but I've never really felt like I fit in. Cloud giants only seem to care about having the best of the best, and they want everybody to know it. Me, I like meeting interesting people. And then finally, to the point, he says, "Oh, I apologize. I've kind of got distracted here. King Hecaton, look at what he's sitting on." And as he shows you the picture, I scramble to actually get to it. Give me a second here. Let me pull up this. Of course, Fantasy Grounds is going to freeze. Awkward. All right, anyways, I'll just explain it. We don't need to actually see it. What he shows you is this dark obsidian carved throne. And for feet, it has these impaled skulls of ancient blue dragons, he explains to you. The throne itself floats and is said to be imbued with tremendous magical powers. And he's kind of flipping through the pages now and says, it seems like it was built by the dwarven gods and given to an ancient dwarven civilization or an empire. It was the symbol of power and pride for all of the dwarfs. And it was masterfully crafted and was just basically the symbol for what a dwarf is: powerful and great builders, and it had great potential. Their rulers sat on it for many centuries, but eventually that empire fell and the throne was stolen. It fell out of kind of circulation for many centuries, but was later retrieved by a band of adventurers. And they actually sold it to none other than Queen Neri herself, the queen of the Storm Giants, wife to King Hecaton. She gave it to her husband as a gift and had it magically enlarged so that he could sit upon it and rule. Now, it's saying here that the throne itself is basically useless unless you have one of these scepters. It's scepters of Shantara, it's called. And apparently, if you have that scepter, you can use the throne for all of its capabilities. But without it, to sit on the throne, you'll be frozen and paralyzed, unable to move. And he kind of looks at you. Is this what you were looking for?
Maybe that's why
Yeah,
he's grumpy. I met him, Hecaton. His
That's
daughter.
exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, his daughters,
Sarissa.
Sarissa. Yeah, and
Oh,
I met his wife as well. He's very cross.
Well, he rules over all of giant kind. He is the king of all giants, and I will admit to you that he has his work cut out for him. Now that he's missing more than ever. Go ahead, Octavius.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the book from our friend and see if I can scan it for any small tidbits of information that might be helpful later on.
You mean the book that
Any things what the scepters might be called or anything like that?
Yep. So I will give you some more information on that during the break then. Yeah, I have a couple things that you'll be able to scan through and learn even more than that. But as he's kind of looking at it, he looks and just points at a picture of the throne, and you see these massive ancient dragon skulls on it, and he just kind of shivers and I hate dragons. Aren't they just the worst kind of creatures?
Grandpa fought one.
Actually, I quite like the dragon that I've met, but I understand that you've had bad experiences, so I won't go into it.
Yeah, well, I've never met a dragon that you can trust, and between all their nasty breath attacks and their huge wings, my people have been at war for them for many times, and it's just the worst kind of sound that you could ever imagine when you hear a dragon's wings flap and descend upon you. And as he finishes saying that, you hear a whoosh as a pair of massive wings seems to flap. And he looks and he's like, yeah, it sounds just like that. How did you guys do that?
Well, actually, it's the sound bouncing off of the stones coming into the corridor and then revolving around your...
and as you're talking, again, it cuts you off. Whoosh! Another powerful flap of the wings. Just like...
If he runs to the balcony or window or whatever to look out.
And give me a perception check, everybody who does so.
Alright, so we grab that. And we're like, awesome here. Aw, come on. She must have slipped. Clearly, she slipped. It's a little misty outside. Oh, careful, everyone, it's wet.
She almost slips and falls off the tower.
Warrendale trips over her, apparently.
You being a gentleman that you are, you try to catch her fall. Because,
Total.
But Sunny and Dan, do you have your roller on your phone?
Yeah, I'm not going to roll. I would probably just continue talking about why the dragon wing.
Sunny, on the other hand, as Octavius is going on about just this over and over again about the reverberations and whatnot, you go out and in the distance you see a absolutely massive silver dragon flying right towards you. It's close now, almost too close to even prepare for it. It's somehow descended upon you, and it's close enough that you can see in its claws are what look like 6 small humanoid creatures. And as the beast is just descending right towards the tower at a speed that you cannot really even like comprehend, it's dive bombing almost like a jet fighter or something. You just hear it whipping through the wing. You see as it gets closer, these 6 humanoid figures are dwarfs. And while it's about 100 feet above the tower itself, these dwarfs jump out of the claw and start free falling at a rapid pace right towards the castle. They don't have anything on them, just their equipment, their armor, and weapons, and they have them drawn. And as they start to plummet towards this castle at an alarming speed, you're just kind of standing there dumbfounded. It's only moments before they impact that you see them reach into their pockets and pull something out, a vial, and they drink it. And seconds before they hit the castle grounds, you see them turn into a mist. And then the mist, go ahead. Is someone going to say something?
I was like, Livy gets to her feet and just dusting herself off and looks up. Oh, look, mist. See, I told you. It's wet out here.
Were you going to say something, Octavius?
No, I'm still talking about the wind.
Okay, he's still going on about the wind. What about you, Warren? Were you going to say something?
I was just listening to poor Octavius and clearly helping Livy up.
Yep, you help Livy up, and
Cute.
this mist that hit the ground below you, this tower. You see that moments later, seconds later, the mist starts to pull itself back together, and turns back into material form as these 6 dwarfs now stand with their weapons drawn, ready to head into the castle grounds. Zephyros kind of pokes his head out and just kind of makes a comment about how curious that is. And then as he sees the dragon, screams out at the top of his lungs, "Dragon!" Like he's absolutely terrified. And this is where we'll take a quick 5-second break because I have a special somebody joining us for this next part. So take a quick minute break while I send a link to somebody, and we're going to have a guest appearance, I guess we'll call it, to help me out with this next part.
Cool.
So yeah, just grab a drink and we'll go from there. I'm gonna get a drink before our guest appearance makes his presence known. And there he is. It is none other than Mr. Chester Murray, who in my one shot played one of the Skyfallen dwarfs, who what the party is about to meet right now. So we'll take a quick 5-second break, and we'll get Mr. Chester to introduce his character, and we'll play this out. So give me 5 seconds, guys. Say hello, Chester.
What's up, everyone? What's going on?
Yeah,
What's going on, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
I am thoroughly
It's gonna be
disappointed.
fun.
YouTube is not letting me have the dragon scream from Peeps Dragon.
Well, there's, 3 Peach Dragons now? Or just 2?
I only know of 2, and I'm thinking about the musical.
Oh, that might be even harder.
Yeah, as it's proving. Every little piece, every little piece. Bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, la, 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 la. No wonder why you're asking if I was looking forward to tonight's game.
Yeah. Chris told me don't tell you.
I'm back. Chris did not say such a thing.
Okay. Chris did not tell me not to tell you. It was his evil doppelganger. A slight more handsome version of Chris, but just slightly.
Chris sucking up. He's way more handsome.
Is everybody back?
I don't think most of us
Yeah.
left.
Oh, well then.
Yeah,
La
I think
di
you're
da.
only one. Which, I mean, Jesus.
All right. So everybody roll initiative, as it seems like the castle has fallen under attack.
I think they got the wrong castle.
I rolled a 5, Chris.
All right, beautiful. And 5 plus your dex is, let me look here. 4. Okay. Chester, I got you handled. I already have
Okay.
previous character sheet.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But as we're all doing this, everyone, I forgot they're using fantasy rounds and it's going to do it automatically. Everybody, or sorry, not everybody, go ahead, Runic, and explain what the characters see and what your character looks like as you guys start to appear into material form and they can finally see who you are.
Okay. The first one to step out is actually this very short dwarf for dwarven standards, but the very unique thing about him is on his beard, it actually comes down and it's braided, but it goes back and is braided with his hair as well. So that is something very unique that you don't really see as much. But he has dark red hair and, of course, a glorious red beard as well to match it. And he is wielding a short bow. And as he forms back together into this mist, he takes a couple of steps forward and he takes a knee and he's scanning the horizon, looking for any signs of movement. And he has his bow ready to fire on anything that moves.
So when you dropped, you fell at the base of this tower. And since you're kind of new to this, I'll explain to you what the tower itself looks like. It's basically this giant cloud and then one singular spiral tower that shoots up many, like 100 feet. And on top of this tower is what literally looks like a large wizard hat. The tower itself almost kind of looks comical. Halfway up is what looks like some balconies that kind of shoot out in both directions, north and south. And then even higher seems to be some kind of roost where you see hay and 4 exits on top of that. When you were dropping in, you noticed kind of falling quickly that you did see a couple of humanoid figures sitting on the middle part. So basically about 50 feet up. Now, as you're at the base, you see this main entranceway, which is this massive, large door that has a cloud-like curtain kind of sitting in front of it. As you look up now, 50 feet above you, you can't even really see that. You see the balcony, but you see the bottom side of it. So you lost focus on the humanoids that were up top. Now, your group is actually the group to react first in the initiative. So I'm just going to let you and all of your comrades kind of go before them since your character rolled 21 on the initiative.
All right. So standing there for a second, Runic is actually going to move his hands forward for the rest of the group to move forward. And the first one that comes out of this mist is Craig Hammer. And he steps forward next to Runic and places his hands down on the ground and just closes his eyes. And of course we don't see anything, but then he opens his eyes a few seconds later and he says, "It looks like there's 4 other people here other than our target." And with that, he moves forward to the base of the stairs, getting ready to move up. And then the next one that pops out is this very light armored dwarf, but it looks like he has heavy gauntlets on his arms, and he just rushes straight out of this mist and starts going straight up these stairs. Next up is, oh crap, it's hard to read my own notes.
I'll say that Theron steps up, and as Craigham says that, 4 others. I seen what looked like humanoids. Do you think this giant has prisoners?
It's possible. These foul creatures, we never know what these foul creatures are doing.
We'll have to save them. Right away. Let's go.
And with that, the whole group moves up the stairs, and 2 dwarves kind of not stay behind, but they're taking up the rear, kind of watching our flanks as we're ascending up these stairs.
Absolutely, and you're able to, with your full movement, extend out into the actual entry of this tower. And as you get to the main level, it's a pretty barren entryway. There's just basically a giant-sized table and a couple of chairs, and basically it looks like an entryway. As you look up, though, 50 feet above, dangling kind of down these chains, are all these orbs that are glowing, and they seem decrement. They seem like ornaments more than anything. Not the orb that you're looking for. But as you look above, you see in the center of the roof is a hole that is pretty large in size, and you suspect that that's the entryway to the next level, but it's 50 feet above, and there seems to be no stairs or anything. Now, as your group gets in there, Warren, you're the next person to act, as you don't really understand what the hell just happened. As you look into the distance, the silver dragon is still kind of keeping its way, and you see almost instantly the griffins kind of all shoot out, and Zephyros kind of yells for them to come back and not to go to the dragon, but they don't seem to even listen to him at the moment. Just kind of like dogs that see like a stray cat running down the street. They all bolt out and start to head towards this massive creature. As you look below, you get a moment where you see these small dwarfs kind of heading into the tower, but you lose sight of them from the balcony. What do you do?
Warren will stand at this window looking down as he kind of turns around towards everybody else. It looks like we have friends. Stuffy little people. Dwarfs, they're ugly little bastards. The one has his beard braided into his hair. Pathetic, I tell you. But would you like us to kill them for you? I mean, it's the least we could do, considering we had to kill everything else around here and you sat on your ass.
Kill them? Maybe they're friends. Maybe they just want some tea. Livy, maybe you should pour another cup of tea.
Make some pancakes too.
Did Livy hear any of what the dwarf said?
I imagine you don't hear them because you're 50 feet above them, and I imagine they're not yelling it to each other.
Okay. Then she'd be like, "That sounds like a great idea. Tea it is."
Yeah.
All right. So what does Warren do? Is Warren just ready in action to drink tea?
Pretty much, yeah. He's not going to do anything specific, really.
So the second that tea is ready, your action will go off, and you'll be able to drink said tea. Livy, as tea and pancakes have been called, what is your action?
Wait, tea and pancakes have been called? Wow, she's clearly in the kitchen working really hard.
All right.
If only she knew a haste spell to cast on herself.
Oof, if only. So Livy gets to work with quick fever now that unexpected guests have shown up, and she unexpectedly has to pour at least double the amount of tea she thought she was going to. So this is quite the predicament.
In that case, then I'll cast Fireball as my cantrip to help, heat up this tea kettle a little bit quicker for her.
Nice. You firebolt the kettle, and whoosh, it goes up in flame as the stone starts blazing, and sweat kind of drops down her hair as she starts going through as quick as she can. I don't really know the steps of brewing tea.
Hair starts tying her hair up.
Yeah. Sunlit.
Sunlit,
you see your friends spring into action to ready their newfound guests. What do you wish to do?
I don't believe they're here to be our friends.
Blasphemy. Come help us get pancakes. Get the flour. We need to got some time for
tea is a great way to say hello. I'm sure we'll be buddies in no time.
A sophisticated folks, Suni. Trust us.
Those cakes are pretty glorious. Okay. And she'll just sit back a bit. And now there's still that large table where we are as well, right?
Yeah, so on the second level is more of the common room. It kind of has a whole bunch going on. A library, some tables. It's like an all-in-one bungalow, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a giant table, which you can't really sit at, but you can sit on top of.
Yeah, she'd get herself, if she wasn't already on top of the table, climb up there. She has incredible climbing abilities.
Yep.
And would get herself kind of where she could see them, but they may not be able to see her.
All right. You want to make a stealth check?
Sure.
Go ahead and do so.
Not like she's good at that or anything like that. 16.
16. You disappear behind some books and whatnot. As all this is going down, you see that the griffins kind of rip out of their roost and start to descend upon this giant dragon. As they're doing so, they're kind of like circling it and periodically driving at it towards it. And the dragon just kind of flaps its wing in annoyance. These creatures are still pretty small in comparison to it. And it lets out like a kind of warning roar, to which the griffins don't really bugger off. And he'll, again, let out another kind of actually, let me see what he'd do. He would let out an icy breath attack, but he doesn't actually shoot it at the griffins. You would all kind of notice this, that the ice attack kind of shoots out and misses all 4 griffins, which seemed kind of weird in comparison to how absolutely massive this cone of ice he just shot out is. It almost seems like it would be harder to miss than it would be to hit with it. Nonetheless, though, Octavius, you're kind of up as your friends have kind of sprung into action to ready some tea and pancakes.
As Octavius looks around at the spontaneous commotion, he would realize nobody's really listening to him anymore, and
He's still going on.
And then he would look out as this giant dragon did a cone breath, and I would imagine there would be a screech behind it, and he'd be like, "Oh, there really was a dragon." Huh. And he at that point would probably walk closer onto the balcony, but stay close to Zephyros at the same time, just still wanting to communicate about something with him, but not knowing what yet. But other than that, he'd be completely oblivious to the dwarves and to what everyone else is doing.
Perfect. So, as all this is going on, Runic, your group is next up to act. Basically, you're going to take the lead on this, so whatever you're doing, your group is just going to follow. Now, again, to kind of refresh you, you're at the base of this tower. 50 feet above is a hole in the wall, but there is no stairs or any kind of lift or anything. You don't really know how to get up there. You're going to need to be pretty creative.
Oh, well, actually, I do have the perfect thing. It's a good thing I'm playing this character than I am. Runic, seeing how there's not really a conventional way of getting up there, he looks to his other party members and he says, "Grab a hold of me." And when he does, he reaches back into a invisible quiver and he pulls out something. You guys can't see what he's pulling out. It looks like he actually grabs nothing. He puts it into his bow and he aims it straight up at this hole and he fires the arrow. And then all of a sudden, all the dwarves disappear. And then they reappear up at the very top of the hole.
Nice. So you literally reappear right into the common room. So Zephyros is kind of busying around like, "Oh, the place is a mess and we have company. Oh, I must clean up." And he's like picking up books and like putting it away. "Livy, how's the pancakes coming? Hurry, they'll be up here any moment."
I imagine
flipping the first one.
I imagine like all of us are looking at each other like, what is going on?
And then poof,
I'm just like,
you're in the middle of this, and you see the giant is like picking up books, and you see a young, what is it? Sorry, half elf, or is it human, Livy?
No.
Human.
I think he's human. Like that's a good question, but yeah, would she by chance like are they visible like from the sounds of it? Yes.
They literally when you don't see or hear anything, but then all of a sudden, poof! There's just 6 dwarves in the common room with weapons readied.
As she's like, "Hi y'all, pancakes will be ready. I hope you're hungry."
And what do, Runic, as you're face to face with another treacherous cloud giant? This cloud giant has no hair on the top of his head, but kind of like a receding hairline all around and long flowing. It almost looks like cloud for hair. You've seen this before, the kind of makeup and the dull grayish skin of a cloud giant. He's in these wizard's robes and has a staff, and he's currently bent over picking up a book and putting it away. And as you poof in, he smiles at you and kind of like very lackluster welcome is murmured throughout the group as you see a young girl making pancakes by the looks of it on a giant skillet. You see a half elf who's kind of just leaning up against the wall looking impatient. And then you see another man standing outside in the balcony talking to this half elf about something, but none of them really seem to be in any danger. And the giant is just kind of standing there smiling at you after welcoming.
Runic, and actually the whole party is almost like in a state of shock. Their mouths are open. They're just like, what? They're not quite sure of what's going on, and it's like, then I think finally Runic would speak up, and their weapons are still drawn. By the way, they're still in that hostile mode. It's like, so you're not prisoners, like.
To which point Drac yells out, interrupting you, "There's the navigational orb! Destroy it!" And he points at it and starts to head over in that direction.
And then almost immediately, Runic goes back into that combat mode, and it's like, go, go, go! And starts running with the group. And as all of us start heading up towards this orb the best we can. Or up to the orb, sorry.
Warren, you're up next. As they appear and basically momentarily look confused. There's that moment of like a standoff where they don't know what to do. But then one of the dwarves yells out about the navigational orb and starts to head there. Zephyros, not necessarily like upset or angry, would just be like, "Oh no, you guys don't want to touch that. That will cause all kinds of problems for us. Sit down. We have some pancakes." But they seem to be running for the moment. What do you do?
Seeing Runic run up this, Warren will push himself off the wall and move forward. As he kind of looks at you, Runic. See this man, flowing black hair. Looks like he's always in a pissed off bit of mood. He'd be like, I wouldn't do that, dwarf. Come, have a few pancakes and we'll talk about this before we kill you.
You can reply if you want, Runic.
It's an ask for words, lass. Come.
No, he'll actually say, kill us. You giant boot-licking, pointy-eared piece of filth are going to try to kill us. And he just, at that point, ignores you and just keeps on running. Almost like at a faster pace now that you kind of, not interrogate, but incite him.
Are they running up? Is it like a stairway they're running up, or?
Basically, the navigational orb kind of floats in the center of the room. They're still, it's giant height, so they're still gonna have to like get up another 20 feet to even get there. And it basically is just in front of the window of this tower, kind of looking out, and it's what Zephyros would go up to. It just kind of floats there with a strobe of light going through it. Almost picture like kind of like a Star Trek, like being beamed up kind of light that goes right through this blue, almost giant crystal-looking ball. They're still at least a turn away from it.
So is it like just like floating there? They could reach it, right?
They can't reach it by conventional means. You don't know what they did. Somehow come from the bottom of the ground to the top of the ground, and what seemed like a poof of nothingness. So obviously they have unconventional means of transportation. But as per a dwarf, it definitely couldn't reach it just by being a dwarf.
Gotcha. All right. And one more question: how far away from me are they?
Within a movement for sure.
So you see Warren, a little bit annoyed, looks over at Livy. Livy, just wait just a moment. Your friends say your pancake sucks apparently or something. I don't. And Warren will walk forward towards you guys. He doesn't look like he's, not offensive or anything as you guys are rushing forward. And I'll just continue to walk forward so that, they're within like talking distance or whatever. And I will set off a thunder wave, so I'll need Constitution saves from everybody.
Nice. Do you have any kind of dice, Chester? Or?
Yeah.
You can roll a con save.
Is it everybody?
You have a +2 to your con.
Okay. Oh wow. 18. Or sorry, not 18. 19.
Nice.
I rolled a 17.
So,
Do
the others only one other makes the save, and it's the one that yelled it out aggressively to attack the orb. I guess not even aggressively is the right word, kind of sporadically. is more like he just seen the orb and started heading towards it. But him and Runic make the save, but everybody else kind of fails.
Okay, they're going to be thrown back 15 feet then.
All right, so they get pushed back against the wall. I'm going to say where they came up.
And then I'll do that. I'll spend 2 sorcery points, do that as a quick action, do the same thing again. So we have to make one more save.
All right, make another save.
Ooh, not as good, but it's a 17. Does that pass?
That also pass, yeah.
Yeah, and I rolled a nat 20 on the other con save,
Oh,
unfortunately.
That's right.
Yeah, we are expert dwarves.
So the other ones are thrown back and like, well, there's only the 2 of you now, and the rest of us. But just one more chance for pancakes, tea. She's a good cook. I mean, you really don't want to do all this. It'd be a shame to splatter the floor in dwarf blood.
So
But if
Livy,
you want to take it this far, I mean, certainly will. Here, I'll roll their damage for those other ones too. Go ahead.
perfect. Let me know. So Livy, as you're just literally like lifting the pancake and flipping it off the skillet, it kind of flops over on its one side, and then a massive thunder wave rips through the entire kind of hallway that you're in, kind of like throwing your pancake off center so that it does that annoying thing when you're mid flip where it falls on top of itself and kind of folds over. So now you got that super annoying half folded pancake. And then you see the dwarves heading towards it. A couple of them get blasted back by Warren as he calls out.
They take half damage. I'm sorry, they take half damage on a save.
Yeah,
So
you take
whatever.
a total of 10 damage, Runic. I will track your HP and everything.
All right, thanks.
And everybody else takes the full damage, right?
Besides the other guy.
Yeah, besides
the other guy.
All right. Oh, so that's 20 for everybody else. Jeepers. Yeah, so you absolutely blast the other guys. They look fairly beat up, although it quickly becomes apparent that they are no slouches in battle. They are definitely like all right for the most part, we'll say.
So when he casts this, you can see Orin just kind of smacks his hands together in front of him, and there's waves of energy roll out around him. It's a 15-foot radius, just once and then twice. You see his hands light up with crackling energy as he smiles at you, Runic, and just gives you a little wave forward.
What's Livy doing?
Livy, in the midst of flipping over, this pancake just kind of smush on herself, will ride it as best she could and kind of wipe her brown, hands on hips, turning towards the dwarves with this like gigantic looking flipper in her hand that's prestidigitation and this apron that you don't know where she got it from, but it's there, and flour up to her ears probably, and she just kind of points the flipper at the dwarves, just like, leave that alone. That's getting us to where we need to go, and Warren, careful with your spells. Maybe, don't worry, I can make more. And so,
Continue pointy-eared.
I don't have a comeback for that. But anyways, Livy would have said something smart and nice at the same time.
What does Runic and the gang do as this young, cute-looking girl kind of turns around and starts scolding you with a giant spatula?
Oh, I guess she also. I would recommend sitting down at the table. Points over to that. Pancakes will be ready in 5 minutes.
Honestly,
Especially if no more spells go off.
honestly, I would love for her to make an intimidation check or persuasion. Honestly, like if my character would do that because of that.
All right, make one of those checks, whatever you reason. Did I skip you, Corey?
No, I'm next.
Okay.
Oh shoot! Hang on. I decided against intimidation. I want to be persuasion because she's not really meaning to be intimidating.
Yeah, but it kind of is. Like I'm picturing the mom like really pissed off that things aren't
Okay,
going
why
her
not?
way in the kitchen.
Aw, she just looks too cute. Wait, do I have inspiration? No, I don't have inspiration. Darn.
Don't you? I thought everyone did. I guess not, though.
Can I give her my
I
inspiration?
forgot to.
Yeah.
I can give you one. I got tons of it.
Yeah, you guys can give each other. There you go. Go ahead, somebody. I'll say.
I'll give her mine since I kind of was working with her. So
Intimidation, don't fail me now. Okay, that's a little better.
Well,
Not by much, but it's better.
so she manages to intimidate you more than average. I don't know to what effect that would have.
What did she roll exactly?
A 12.
Oh. Da. What's my wisdom?
Your wisdom is I forget, is a mystic a wisdom based character? Because you might have
They're intelligent based character.
okay, yeah, so your wisdom modifier then, because I'm basically using a stock, but I kind of changed it around a little bit. But your wisdom then is just a flat no modifier.
Okay, then I'm gonna say that he starts to actually like puts his head down, kind of like that, yes, ma'am, and starts walking towards the table. But his partner that's with him is like grabs him by the arm. Is like, no, what are you doing? We got to destroy this thing. The giants, they're killing all our people down below. We got to stop this thing now. And Runic kind of comes to his senses, and they both kind of keep going up the thing, but of course on their turn.
While you're talking, though, Theron kind of pushes himself up, and he's like, he's kind of the common sense one of the group, I guess, or like the basically like the one that thinks everything through as much as you do, and he kind of pulls himself up, grimacing at that thunderclap. Why would these people be fighting for a giant? I'm so confused. To which point Sunny is now up.
She was hiding behind a stack of books that were there.
Yep.
And she's probably something you've never seen before. And she ducks around the books, and she goes, because not everybody has to be hostile towards everybody. That's why. Your name is Theron, right? That's what he called you when you were downstairs.
Yes, I'm Theron Lightborn.
Well, my name is Sunlit in the Darkness. And she takes off her hood, and for the first time that maybe a dwarf has ever seen one, they see her their first tabaxi.
To which point, Drac screams out, the one that's kind of like hot-headed, he screams out, "They have a werecat! Oh, God!"
I am by no means a werecat. I'm a tabaxi. I come from Azteca. If you don't calm down, the four of us are very adept. And we also have 4 griffins that are outside that will very gladly come in here and fight aside us. And if you didn't notice, there's also a giant here. Maybe you should just talk.
Zephyros is kind of standing there with his staff watching this all go down, and he just like kind of
I'm like, please let them look at the giant who's just like, hey.
He has like this goofy smile on his face. So, pancakes, how are they coming along?
Number 2's coming up.
So let's talk about this diplomatically. What do you think?
Theron looks to you, Runic. Something's not right here.
Everything is right here.
Should we listen?
Could I get another persuasion roll, if that's all right?
For me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Persuasion or like any charisma base, like however you're trying to persuade us to stop, basically. Or at least that's in my mind. If Chris wants something different,
makes sense. Sounds good to me.
Like if you're trying to do a performance,
unless you think you're intimidating them, in which I think is still charisma based.
Yeah, just
no. It's more of a performance. She's
works for me. It's kind of like theatrics, anyways. Oof, you guys rolls today.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna use one. Give me a second.
All right, use it up.
Yeah, I haven't used any of it yet.
There.
So yes, as I was saying, and she walks over right to where Theron is, who has been hit by the thunder wave, and she puts her very large, much larger than him, hand on his shoulder, and squeezes just a slight, you know what I mean, not to intimidate, not to do anything else, to further the performance. Let's be friends. Because I'd hate for us not to be friends.
All right. And We'll give Octavius his turn and then resolve what's kind of happening with all that.
Are there two dwarves still running towards the navigation stone?
I imagine Runic and Drac are heading that way, but all this is going down while Sunny is basically trying to persuade them. And I imagine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Runic is probably at least hesitating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so they
You
both
can
seem to...
assume that they're probably going to be stopping here in a second.
What
What
did you
level
say?
are we?
You're level 4.
Alright. So Sacred Flame only has 1d8, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to cast. So basically, Octavius is looking outside and he hears Warren cast this loud thunderclap. As he turns around to start coming inside, he sees the commotion and what's going on. And basically, without realizing anything, he just sees two dwarves running towards the navigation stone, a couple of other dwarves laying on the ground. Livy's starting to get a little bit upset, but she's still flipping pancakes, and that right there is enough to get Octavius, a little bit worried about whatever the situation is. So automatically, he wants to show a show of power without hurting anybody. So he's going to cast Sacred Flame in between the navigation stone and the two dwarves to kind of just show them that we are powerful enough to stop you if we want you, but we don't necessarily want you. So that's what I'm going to do.
What I'm going to say is that's probably going to be, I'm looking at your skills, probably a religion check just to see how in touch you can get with Ilmater and just how prominent you can make that blinding light. So go ahead and roll, and you have a +3 to it.
I got 6.
You got a 6.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure that, actually I can look at your character sheet. You have 1 point of inspiration if you want to spend it.
So basically what happens is Octavius starts to do the chant for the Sacred Flame, and about 3 or 4 words in, he's like, damn it, he forgot the words. And he starts over, and he recasts Sacred Flame with a 13.
Nice. And that's unnatural or with the +3?
That's with the +3.
Perfect. So with that, basically as this creature that you've never seen before, she is right when she says that none of you would have ever seen a creature like she, although maybe one of the more studied people like yourself would have at least heard of them, is a cat-like creature that is bipedal, so it stands on 2 legs, and she's kind of tall and slimmer. And as she comes up to Theron, not necessarily menacingly, but definitely with a sense of power, and tells you that
twice as tall as he is. At least.
Yeah, exactly. She's massive. What are you, 7 feet?
No, this almost 6.5 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's 4 feet maybe. So you're pretty damn huge in comparison to him. You're heading towards the navigational orb, and you hear this, and there's a moment of hesitation, and then the man wearing this heavy armor kind of walks in and starts chanting. To which point you hear him kind of awkwardly start to mumble and do something else, but then he says the words with more ferocity, and then in between you and the navigational orb is this blinding light that kind of, there's a bunch of yelling and kind of back and forth and commotion going on, and you hear Livy flipping the pancakes and the sizzling, and the teapot starting to boil over and starting to make that screaming noise. You hear the dragons and the griffins going at it, but this blinding light kind of imbues across the room and momentarily blinds everybody, to which point it kind of comes back, and you see this radiant light disappearing, and then everyone's kind of standing in a moment of silence, to which Zephyros is kind of standing there. So, is everybody ready for some pancakes?
Runic is actually going to look to the rest of his party and say, maybe we were wrong about this one. He's not hostile. He hasn't tried to kill us like all the other giants we've come across.
If you're talking to Zephyros, he'd be like, me? Hostile?
He's talking about him, but he's talking to his party.
I have to kill you.
He kind of laughs. I'm not hostile. I'm the friendliest giant you'll ever meet. My name's Zephyros, and these are my friends. That one over there, he points to the one that just said he'll kill you, is Warren. Now, I know he comes off as a little bit of a prick, but I promise you, his heart is good, and he just has a hard time communicating. And then over there, the chef.
He's getting better.
That's Livy. She's I tell you right now, makes the best pancakes you'll ever taste in your life. And that feline-looking companion over there, that's Sunlit in the darkness. She's from a strange, faraway land and has much insight to bestow upon everybody. And of course, we can't forget our good friend Octavius, the knower of all, the knower of things. This man will bedazzle you with the things that he knows.
Warren just bursts out laughing.
Runik's still like in that shock mode, or he goes back to that like
Just
mouth
dumbfounded.
open, just like
Oh,
okay.
and I'm Zephyros. My name's Zephyros. Sorry.
Yeah, because honestly, you would think the cat would be the weirdest thing that this dwarf has ever seen. And actually, no, it's this massive, friendly giant that is the weirdest thing he has ever seen at this moment. And so he's like, okay, maybe we should talk, but if we don't like what we hear, we're destroying that orb.
Oh,
We'll smush you first.
no reason to destroy the orb. I'm so sure after everybody has their bellies full of pancakes, nobody will feel like destroying anything. Right? Come, sit, everybody. Here, it looks like you all kind of.
Zephyros, I can't carry all
You all,
these.
he goes over. It seems like everybody got a little bit of a scrap there between the introductions. No worries. Here, and he taps his staff to the ground, and this kind of misty, like green dust starts to appear from his staff and sweep across the entire room. To which point he casts what's it called, massive cure wounds or mass cure wounds, and
Oh, well, right as day.
I think that's right. Let me look it up. Yeah, whatever. That's what he
Yeah.
cast, and you all basically get healed. You guys get fully healed, and your friends that took the brunt of the damage don't necessarily get fully healed, but are in pretty good shape. Which is even stranger because a cloud giant just healed you guys. To which he kind of looks outside and he starts yelling at his griffins. Griffins, you leave that dragon alone. I know that they're sons of bitches, but this dragon is friends with the dwarf for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they keep bad company, but they seem nice enough. Get in here now.
Maybe
That means you,
dragons
Veltrex.
Maybe dragons are on the same pretense as the giants.
That is an
And,
interesting point.
She sits down to.
Zephyros stops to ponder this. Perhaps he's right. Perhaps your beliefs on giants are as misguided as mine on dragons. So, what is your story? Why have you come here to destroy my castle? I'm just harmlessly floating around.
Do you not realize what's going on outside in the world?
Looks like a nice sunny day.
There's a war going on between the giants and us. And when he means us, he kind of points down at the ground, not meaning us as dwarves.
A war. What have you?
What do you mean?
Is the sun over yet now? Olivia would ask just out of curiosity, since it's been a few days they've been up in the castle.
Yeah, so we're going to say that a total of 4 days has passed. So a total of 9 days now. You've been, or let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 days, actually. It's been a full 10 day. And you guys are currently, let me pull up the world map.
You are here.
You are, I lost track of my thing that I was using to track the party. Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Can you
No, I
find the
didn't.
maps?
All right, I'm going to share the map to you right now. And if you look in between Thornhold and Waterdeep on the Sword Mist Mountain, or Sword Mountain, you see a little tiny token that is, let me see if I can circle it here. Right around here is the token of Octavius. So in the 4 days, you guys are basically passing a square a day. You have made it up towards the Mere of Dead Men. You're kind of skirting past it, but that is roughly where you are. And you still have quite a long ways to go, basically is the moral of the story. But 10 days has passed since you've been down below. For whatever reason, although no matter how hard Sunny tries to remind, Zephyros, he seems to forget each and every day to land the ship. or land the castle so she can go into town. It's kind of been like this repeating thing, this repeating cycle now where she just drills it in his mind, like, we have to land today and go to town. And he's like, oh, of course, we'll land. And then every day you wake up, you seem to have passed the town.
Yeah. It's a thing.
So yeah, he tells you that there's a war upon us. What do you guys do?
Well, I think Livy would go into talk about, like, well, that's why we're up here with the giant. Like, actually, we're going to be on foot. But then he came along and he's giving us a ride all the way up to Prince Shandu because we're hoping to find an old giant friend of my grandpa's, Nick. And so, yeah, this is going to speed up that process a whole lot more. That's why we would really appreciate if you didn't destroy the navigation orb, because then we have to do it by foot, and that's just going to add on months. And the sooner we can do this, hopefully the sooner we can end the miscommunication war thing that's going on with the giants. And I know our friend here, Zeph, mentioned something about the hierarchy, and
yes, these four are
the player. I can't remember.
I think
these four are the chosen ones. They have been selected by higher entities that I speak to, and they are the saviors of the world. Fear not.
I think, though, at this point, Drac would get very impatient and just slam his fist into this table and just kind of stand up, and he's like, miscommunication. They're out there slaughtering us and everyone else down on the surface. How the hell is that a miscommunication?
And again, I, the player, cannot remember the specific details, but Livy would explain what Zeph had mentioned of the hierarchy, in which it sounded like something was missing or had died or gone astray.
She would go into a kind of detailed explanation of how the giants have this thing called an ordering, which is basically, the best way to look at it is a hierarchy in which the storm giants sit on the top. And apparently the storm giant leader, King Hecaton, rules over all of giant kind and kind of keeps them in line. Not all giants are good by any means, but all giants feared King Hecaton. And to basically do what he would not want you to do would be crossing him, which would be very dangerous. So for the most part, he kept most giants in line. Now, Livy would tell you that the ordering itself has been shattered, which is more metaphorical than anything, but their god has shattered their caste system, meaning that storm giants now rule over nobody. And it's each giant's job now, as they're taking it, because they all, even though it's not a tangible thing, all giants felt the ordering be shattered. It's more of like kind of like a religious thing, I guess is the best way to look at it. And when all giants felt this, she would explain, they felt it as their opportunity to further themselves in the system, to bring honor to their god so that they can be on the top. And then Zephyros would say, so some of the more misguided giants, and I admit there is a lot of them, have taken it as their opportunity to prove themselves to Anam, our great father, our great god. And I can imagine that many of them are not necessarily doing it in a beneficial way to your people. But if our heroes here can just fix this and find out whatever the hell's going on, or find Hecaton, whatever, then I think it'll all be good, because giants weren't that necessarily problematic beforehand. So you see how miscommunication there, just a smidgy one. I'm sorry.
This time Runic would actually speak up and say, so what, we're just supposed to sit around and let the giants kill us while you try to fix this miscommunication? How long is that going to take? A day, an hour, or is it going to take longer than that? And how many people are actually going to die while you're up here screwing around?
Well, I'll tell you the answer to that.
Well, actually, hang on for a second. At that point, like, you could tell that he is extremely pissed. Like, he's not necessarily on the verge of taking this discussion out, but he is very passionate at this point. Like, you could tell that he has seen a lot of crap that has gone down. So,
what do you got,
What
Warren?
you have to do?
Says, well, the sooner you shut up, then we can get back to the task at hand. You see, we were on our way to go fix this world, as our friend here says, and you had to come in here with your packers hanging out like your big badasses or some shit. How about we
To which point,
Get back to the
Zephyros
dashes.
Zephyros interrupts you and is like, Warren, we talked about it, how shut up isn't necessarily the nicest of words. And
Hold on one moment. I got important things here, Zeph.
he kind of,
A giant after Livy's heart.
I really don't think you should have mentioned about their peckers being out. So I probably won't appreciate that. He whispers to you.
When you guys like this whole thing with this giant like being so passive, it's shocking all these dwarves. Like they're used to seeing bloodthirsty, warlike giant or not dwarves. Why I say dwarf giants, and this passive giant is just going way over their head. They're just not sure what the hell to say or think or do against this thing. They've never seen it before.
Well, I don't think that you should sit there and let giants kill you. That would probably not be beneficial for your lives. But I do assure you that not all of us are necessarily evil.
I've met one as well. She was lovely. She was actually King Hecaton, as they've talked about's daughter.
There's two nice giants. What was Octavio saying, sorry?
Octavius would just look up and he'd be chewing on the pancakes and just swallow and look over to Livy and say, hey, these are fantastic. And he'd look over to the dwarves and say, you can always just come with us and help us speed up the whole thing and, get this over with sooner so that people stop dying and stuff. That'd be cool. And then you go back to eating more pancakes.
You can't deny that the pancakes are delicious. Runic. Probably the best pancakes you've ever tasted.
Don't distract me. No. I don't think we could join you because I think us and he kind of looks at the rest of his group. The what was it? Skyfallen Dwarves, Chris?
Yep.
That we're called.
Yep.
The Skyfallen Dwarves. I think we would do much better out there saving people, other than just riding up here in a fancy castle.
You think my castle's fancy? Thank you.
Fine, huh?
The situation reminds me.
Kind of a funny thing to call yourselves.
They smell anyway.
And he's just kind of eyeing you, Warden, and he just, you have a big mouth on you. And with that, Vernick actually disappears. And you guys kind of look around the room for him, and he's actually standing up on the orb. And he just looks at you all, and he just says, anytime I wanted to, I could have destroyed this orb. But for some reason, you are doing something very weird with this giant, I have to say. I don't know what. But
Zephyros
it doesn't
whispers,
seem...
I've seen weirder.
Sorry, what was that, Chris?
Zephyros whispers, I've seen weirder.
And Vernick is like, but I don't think this is the giant we are looking for. And with that, he kind of disappears again off the top of the orb and reappears back on the table. Basically, almost like he never left his position.
Which giant are you looking for? Maybe I know them.
Well, if we could, we would love to take out Jarl Strof. How do you say that? Yeah.
The leader of the Frost Giants.
Yes, he attacked a village. And with that, he just kind of gets into a sigh and looks down. At first, it was just one boat. There was only a few giants on that boat. We were able to defend it pretty well, and we were able to actually destroy that boat. But then out of nowhere, 15 more boats show up, and we knew we couldn't do anything to stop them. We had to evacuate everyone we could. But we think if we could take him out some way or shape or form, we can at least slow them down.
At this, Octavius would definitely perk up and he would look to Rudick and he'd say, I've done some reading with my friend here, and we found that I think it might be powerful for us if you do take down the Jarl, that he might have a scepter or a rod with him, maybe his weapon, maybe something on his person. But if you find this, it could be very detrimental into us figuring out how to solve this whole conundrum. You might want to send it to us if you find something. And then it would give him the list of the people that were in the book with the worm skull throne.
Yep. So basically, he goes over a worm skull, which as a dwarf, you actually know about. I'm going to say pretty much almost most dwarfs know of the worm skull throne. It's an old legend that an ancient dwarven empire, the Shantarans, I believe they were called, basically the proudest and most successful dwarfs for many centuries. They were gifted this throne by the dwarven gods because of how basically awesome they were at being dwarfs. So you know that it does all kinds of absolutely crazy stuff. Like it can, if you're on it and you have one of the scepters, you can literally like float through stone and basically materialize through it. You can know that it shoots out powerful lightning blasts. It can repulse and teleport and do like all these absolutely bonkers things, but it basically fell out of circulation and no dwarf really knows where it ended up. To which you kind of find it strange that these humans and whatnot suddenly have brought up that throne. It's more like a dwarven lore kind of thing than anything.
Yeah, Runic is a little bit more skeptical, especially because that's one of his things is knowledge and secret lore. And he's actually going to kind of eye you, Octavius, a little bit and says, how did you come across this information, you being human? And he almost says human like a little bit like it's dirty, but not quite.
Did you not see the
Well,
library?
I'm not sure if you know, but humans are actually quite knowledgeable. We have a history of being people that like to innovate and congregate to educate and govern factors that move us forward. And here you go on this lofty speech of how awesome humans are and knowledgeable and the history of attunement and just everything about the killer lineage that is.
To which Zephyros
like
will pull out the book behind him and be like, "Oh, we just read it in this," and he kind of opens it up, this massive giant book.
Yeah, we've been here for some days. All he does is read.
Done lots of reading.
He read it in one of these books. Runic.
Well,
yeah, or maybe that.
So Runic.
And he looks towards you. Doesn't answer you because he's not sure. Yes, he heard your name, but he's still not sure what you are. But he does look at you like, yes, kind of deal.
I think the long and the short of it is this. It's is every dwarf not to be trusted? Because back on my island of Mazteca, when your people came to my island, we thought the same thing. And the halflings and the other elves, they all came and just wanted to take over. They didn't want to talk to us because they saw us as animals. Do I appear to be an animal to you? Do I appear to be an animal to you, Runic?
You could tell on the first look on his face, kind of deal. He wants to say yes, but then he kind of thinks on it for a second, and he says, "No, I have to say you're not an animal."
So then, why would every giant be warring and destructive?
Well, to answer that, and he points up at the giant here. This is the first giant that we've met that did not try to kill us.
And I'm the first Tabaxi you've ever met that hasn't tried to kill you either.
Well, you're the first one I've ever met anyway, so that's not exactly fair, but yes.
So, you're also one of the only dwarves that's ever listened that I've ever met. And I commend you for that. So, yes, you seem to have an unnatural amount of movement. So yes, could you have gotten up there to the orb and started to create damage? Probably. But do you really think the four of us wouldn't have fought back?
You could have.
Do you think we wouldn't have fought back?
You could have tried to fight back, but it's a lot easier to destroy something than try to defend something, especially when your enemy has such an advantage. Not saying you wouldn't, and he kind of puts his hand to kind of stop you, but I think in the end, we would have completed our objective, which was to bring
Theron
down
kind
this
of
castle.
sighs, and he's like, "Listen, dwarves, we're a proud bunch, so if you're going to want to get one of us to say that you would beat us in combat, we'll never admit it."
I wasn't saying beat, but there could be equal.
Yeah, we would have won.
Shut up, Warren.
Take another bite of his pancake, just staring at Runic as he eats his pancake.
Drac kind of like clenches his fist and looks at you and kind of like looks like he wants to spit, but gets a backhand from somebody else, and just is eyeing you also, Warren, like he wants to take a piece out of you, but after a while.
So I think the long, again, and the short of this is that your quarrel isn't here. So after we share a meal together and break bread, as we're doing now,
Pancakes.
it'd probably be best if you left. Because you said you don't want to help us, so you should go help your people. She looks at you longingly. She's not being aggressive.
Yep.
She could be. You know what I mean? She's a very aggressive person, but she's even to the group, she's trying to not be as aggressive as she has been in the past.
Runic will actually hold up his hands or hold up his finger and say that depends on one thing. And he looks over to Libby and says, "Can you make more of those pancakes?" And with that, he disappears again, but he pops up next to the window and he's just looking out. And then I would say probably about a minute or two later, the dragon comes down into the courtyard outside.
To which point, this entire time, one of the dwarfs that has this kind of long, like whitish beard, his eyes have kind of been rolled over for a while, and he's sitting there kind of cross-legged and has his hands, and he's just finished eating his pancakes. He doesn't know it, but there's actually a little bit of pancake in his beard. But he seems to be in some kind of deep meditation, and suddenly his eyes snap back from being rolled, and he looks over to you, Runic, and says, "Everything that they say is true. Now, being the chosen ones, that I do not necessarily see. I see many possibilities, but I do see that these four are somehow deeply connected to what's going on here. And they do have a chance to do something. Most of those chances are deaths, but maybe, just maybe, these four could do something." I don't think that taking out this giant will solve anything. His words are true. He's been through a lot. He has contacted other planes far too many times for a sane person to do. But for what sanity is left in him, and as he's saying this, Zephyros just kind of like smiling at him like, "Yeah, I'm a good person." But what sanity is there? He really does just want to help.
Okay. And with that, yeah, I would say that all the doors kind of course, we're all sitting there, but sitting down and basically kind of take the aggression away and just start grabbing pancakes. And what I mean grabbing, like they reach in and grab and pull like 5 or 6 and just start going at it.
Zephyros kind of smiles and says, "See, there's no situation that a pancake can't fix."
That's right. And good tea.
All right, well, I'm glad that we all were able to come to terms now. Go ahead.
Do you have any alcohol with you?
I'm pretty sure didn't one of us did?
Yeah.
I want to say it's the 2 foot soldiers. Like they Griswelda.
Griswelda and Hewen.
Yeah, Hewen. That both of them would probably have at least a flask on each of them.
I tend to like to share a drink.
And you drink it all every time.
They would kind of look at you and like, and they're not sure what to call you because they're not sure exactly what you are.
My name is Sunny.
But can your race handle a dwarven drink?
Livy from the kitchen is like shaking her head as she's flipping pancakes.
Yeah, Warren just kind of shakes his head.
I could certainly try.
And
all right, they kind of
Livy shakes her head harder, like don't do it.
With a big smile on their face, like they know something is going to happen, but you don't necessarily know what that is, and they will pass you a flask that smells something horrid.
It's worse than even wine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely like wine is a more sophisticated and kind of fruity taste. This does not smell like that.
Yeah. she definitely gives it a whiff. Shakes her head a couple times and goes, "Well, I'm no use to not trying." And she takes a swig. Yeah, we're gonna do a as we do every time she tries something new.
Yeah, give me a con save to see how.
Yeah, we're gonna do a con save and see how this works out for her.
Oh,
hey,
lucky.
the alcohol is starting to work better for her these days.
I set it pretty high too, but that's enough. It's enough to. It definitely you drink this, you don't black out or anything, but you definitely do not take a shot of this gracefully, even with that. Like it burns like all the fucking hell's going down, and you can't do anything but quiver as it does. But you're able to like stay conscious at least.
Yeah. Whew. Better than the lemonade.
Is it Henwin?
Hewen.
He just slaps you as hard, not doing it on purpose, but it feels like he slaps you as hard as he can on your back. And he says, "Yeah, that'll put hairs on your chesties."
I got hairs all over me.
Hairs like this, he says. Everyone, the dwarves all kind of take a swig of ale and laugh with you. Zephyros also corks his giant's bottle of something and takes like a little sip, and he starts to laugh too. And then you all realize that it's still before midday, and the dwarves and Sunny are pretty lit up at this point.
Yeah.
Brunick is not drinking though at this point. Like he'll probably just have a little sip of it, but not.
Yeah, neither is Craigham, the one that kind of had his eyes rolled back. But we'll say a couple hours go by, and you guys are able to like acquaint with each other. Now, if there's any other things that you kind of want to tell them, sorry, I'm blanking out. Runic, obviously, just I imagine everyone's kind of like talking and going back, and they tell you the story about how they started in this little city and all these crazy tales that you've already watched most of the session, so you kind of know what's happening. But if you want to say anything to them, now would be your chance. And Mary looks like she wants to say something.
I'm about to press enter on what I was typing. I'm like, Livy would say something like this, and so people can read it if they want to. But yeah.
All right.
I think what Runic would talk about would be mostly telling them the story of their first jump and what they did, and then telling them the second jump of being a Skyfall dwarf on how they took out the castle and almost killing the vile giant whose name I'm and almost killing her, but sadly she escaped, and how we became best friends with the dragon that's now like scarfing down so many pancakes at this point, probably.
What's the dragon's name?
Clarion, he says to you. Pleasure to meet you. As he speaks to you.
Hey, do you know a dragon named Saul?
No. Should I?
I don't know.
Octavius just chunks on pancakes.
Saul does not ring any bells. What color is he?
I don't remember.
Well, that is little to no help for me then. Clarion kind of says and sculpts down like another 20 pancakes. Livy, you're just like pancaking it up right now.
It's your buddy.
So, Zeph, we may need to stop at the next town because you're in need of more flour.
Oh yes, I'll stop at the next town. Don't worry about it. I definitely will not forget.
He is not going to stop at the next town.
Well, we're gonna need to because we need flour like bad.
And I need more of this
Oh,
stuff.
eggs.
As she shakes the empty flask, there's no liquid sound in it any longer.
Right.
Sorry, what else were you saying, Chester? Or I can't remember. Did we interrupt you? I can't remember who did.
I don't think so. I think that was about it. Just him telling the adventures that he had, and then he already told them about defending the village on how the Jarl, King of the Frost Giants, was attacking. So, and I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Remember?
Yeah, you're fine. It wasn't like a quiz. It was just whatever you wanted to say to them.
Like, I did take notes.
Yeah, no, you did fine. Yep. So yeah, you guys kind of have a really strange lunch with these Skyfall and dwarves who they would explain to you are kind of like this elite force of dwarves that have a very kind of unique technique of infiltrating very hard to reach places in the form of their potions that they quaffed the last seconds before falling and basically turn into a temporary gaseous form. They would tell you all kinds of tales of how they've been fighting giants and how war is quickly sweeping across the land. Craigham would mention that stone giants have been seen attacking Loudwater, taking sacred church wards, that fire giants have been raiding cities and digging up holes. Like he said, the frost giants have been raiding on their giant longships, and that hill giants are sweeping across farmlands and taking entire crops and cattle for themselves. Absolute anarchy has kind of broken out all across Faerun, as it now seems like giants are kind of coming up out of the wherever they come from and just being very aggressive. Other than that, though, if nobody else has anything to say or ask to these guys, that will basically...
Octavius would...
Go ahead.
Octavius would see if you could ask Riddick if there was any way that he would be able to grab a vial of this wonderful potion to study it and possibly replicate it.
Now, Runic,
the one that
you would know,
saves them from the mist.
You would know that due to your last excursion, you realize that it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a backup gaseous form potion.
Mm-hmm.
So each of you do have one backup. It's up to you. It's a pretty precious thing to the Skyfall, and so it's up to you whether you think they would have enough respect to give it to these guys. Although you did have a pretty good afternoon with them.
You fed your pancakes.
Octavius would just explain that it would be very scientific and, one would be enough, hopefully.
Runic would kind of look at you and say, you know what? and he reaches back into his backpack and pulls out his file, his last file, and hands it to you and says, use it responsibly. It will help you in a pinch, but I will warn you, it tastes awful and it doesn't last very long.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Octavius would just take it, and he would look at the vial for a while before he slipped it into his suit of armor.
All right, and I will add to your inventory, Dan, so that next time you're in here that you have a Skyfallen potion. Very cool. Anybody else have anything to say to them before they part ways? Because basically the afternoon carries on. You guys swap stories and whatnot, but they have important things to do. They have to report back to their queen in Mithra Hall to tell them their findings that maybe not all giants are as bad as they thought.
Just remember us if you do kill these certain guys to send us the scepters if you find them. I know it's weird, but if you do find them, it could be a help.
Okay.
All right, they start to rally up and get ready to leave.
I still don't like you.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Octavius is looking
so
for him.
hard to defend the land.
Shake his head.
Actually,
Stubby little bastards.
can Warren make a I think it's a wisdom save for me?
Maybe let me see. Wisdom?
Yeah.
What the hell am I saying?
Let me think.
Of course. Like my worst thing.
13-year-old.
I'm sorry, what?
13-year-old.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure my my DC for that is higher. All that happens, like nothing bad's gonna happen, but Warren and Runic actually trade places. And for a second, Warren, you are just like not sure what's going on because all of a sudden you was looking at him and you're still looking at him, but the world just changed. I don't like you either. And with that, Runic walks off.
I don't know, look around for just, this moment when he's in your body. You can see, I guess it would be your self smile. Looks down and opens his britches. I knew it was tiny.
And all right, they basically jump off the ledge and they land on Clarion, and he kind of swoops them up in their claws. And the Skyfallen dwarves ride out on their silver dragon into the horizon. All right, we'll take another short break to thank Chester for showing up and helping me with that.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
It went well, and it definitely would have been a lot harder to roleplay 6 dwarves than a giant. So I'm glad that you were there for that.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
That was super.
Yep.
Very cool, man.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll save the day.
Yeah, I had no clue how that was going to turn out, but it was fun nonetheless. So, does anyone want to take a quick break? I do want to push a little bit further. But
Potty break. Yes.
Just a quick potty break, yes?
Yep. Is everyone good to push forward? I know I don't even know how long we've been playing for.
Yeah, I'm good until whenever.
What about you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm good.
Danielson?
Yeah, whatever it goes. I'm good. All night.
Yeah, quick bathroom break. Let's do it. I don't have to go, so I'm going to get a drink because I already finished my drink. So I'll be right back.
Well, that could have turned out way worse.
Why don't they make peanut butter chips?
What were you just shouting about?
All right, I'm back.
Why don't they eat peanut butter chips?
Peanut butter chips?
Yeah.
You mean like a peanut butter chocolate chip type of thing?
Like a Frito-Lay's ruffled peanut butter flavored chip.
That sounds magic.
Disgusting.
Like, who wouldn't want a peanut butter chip?
I personally
I'm
want.
dipping my chip in peanut butter right now.
That sounds pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. You could dip it in some jam and have peanut butter jam chips.
Yeah,
Oh, fuck, you just did that.
yeah, no, you're on to something. That could have went way worse.
All right, everyone
I
back.
don't know, Sunlight. You could.
And I was worried that Jessica was gonna actually bust our navigation, or it's gonna be like, thanks.
Yeah, I literally had no clue how that was gonna go down, and if he would have actually busted your navigational orb, which they definitely could have, it would have made for
It'd been
quite the
long.
long journey. So,
Yeah, but we certainly, the four of us, would have fought.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean? It's not like
yeah, no doubt. I will say that they would definitely have been worthy adversaries at the very least.
I'm
Just-
sure.
But it would have been, yeah, I literally had no clue. I just basically told Chester to, I gave him like very few guidelines and let him have free reign with it. So he did a good job.
Well, even though they were sky falling, whatever the hell they were in the sky, and she was just going to be interested in throwing people out windows. That's exactly what she was going to start doing.
No doubt. So with everyone back, I'm assuming. Is Dan back actually? I heard his voice, but now I see that he's muted and off
Oh, yeah,
camera.
I'm here.
All right, cool. You just don't want to see us. You don't want us to see you eating your peanut butter chips. I understand.
Peanut butter chips.
All right, so at this point, this is where time is gonna start whipping by. Let me see my calendar here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Especially if Luna puts her head out the door, wind in her hair.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I really want to draw a picture now of Livy whipping up pancakes in a giant kitchen.
So while I am basically calculating how far you guys made in travel, this is where time's going to start going by rather quickly. So if everybody wants to say what they're doing, spending their time doing here for the next 12 days, go ahead and do so.
Okie dokie. Well,
Well,
Livy's
activity-
going to be
oh, go ahead.
helping with breakfast. Livy's helping with breakfast, and she's doing lots of reading and studying and going through all sorts of books. And if she sees any like particularly good stories or lore history books or even spell books, she will be all over that.
Absolutely. What about you, Octavius?
Octavius finds the restrooms here unsanitary due to the size difference. It's more like sitting in a trough for Octavius, and he's really not happy with the conditions. So basically, he spends his time. He's found an area in the basement that he's converted into like a hydroponic, recyclable garden, and he's able to compost him and the group's manure into a processable thing for tomatoes, and he's happy with himself. He doesn't really feel comfortable just going over the edge and getting everybody wet. He feels very guilty about that, and doesn't want to kill anybody with the number 2 or anything. So he's concentrating on that, but he's trying to do his best, but he's not doing a great job. So like flies are starting, and it's getting kind of moist in the basement, and he doesn't have any ventilation, so there's kind of a smell. So people in the rest of the castle might start to notice in another week. That's really all he's been up to do, though. He's concentrating on that.
So if you would like to give me a survival check to see how well your human manure growing tomatoes are going, I would be intrigued to see myself.
Chris, I rolled a 5.
You're holding 5. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So basically, what is sprouting up is this withered looking, very gross. It's definitely not even like in a tomato form. It's still in its vine form in this 12 days. It's growing, and you're probably proud of
Is
it.
it a tomato?
Yeah,
No, I mean it's a tomato.
it's something. That's all. That's all you can say. You're proud of it, but if you were to show it to anybody else, there is no chance in hell that anyone's gonna eat your shit tomatoes. All right. What about you, Warren? How are you spending your next 10-day plus a little bit?
Completely clear away from the basement, obviously.
Yeah.
And that Warren is bored out of his mind. He has no interest in reading these books because he knows everything he needs to know. And obviously that wouldn't pertain to him any. So most of his time is spent just kind of scuffling around, his feet across the carpet, and every now and then whenever he can capture or notice Suni is around, he'll zap her in the nose with his finger, but otherwise he's just bored, wandering aimlessly, looking for something to do.
Would Warren be interested in fencing or any kind of sparring?
Well, he sucks at it, but sure.
Livy would
Actually, I'd probably be
if he
decent
was
at
willing.
it. If that use, actually, I'd probably be halfway decent at it using Dex. Yeah. So yeah, he'd spar with you.
Awesome. Because
And
that's
steps.
like one of the other things. I'm like, yeah, she need to practice her fencing or not. Like she couldn't just forget that.
Yeah, if you guys want to have a
Cool.
contest to see how well you do, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
We'll see who comes out on top of the sparring. Is
Best with
Warren?
lightning.
Wait, that's damage. My bad. I'm like already going into. I'm gonna kill you.
Wham!
Ooh,
10
I like
damage.
that. Wow.
Natural 20. Good luck, Warren.
Let's see, abilities. I don't even know what mine. I'll just draw my Dex.
Yep.
Where is it? Right there.
I'll show that.
So it seemed like a good idea at the time. Like, sure, you could probably go toe to toe with this young girl, but she gives you.
I'm done with this shit. Obviously, it's because I'm up here and floating around. The air pressure is getting to me and the thin air of the atmosphere. This is bullshit. I'm done
Hey.
with this.
I could teach you. If like he's stomping away, like
Just throw the rapier on the ground and stomp away. Bullshit.
Beautiful.
she just kind of shrugs if he doesn't come back at her trying to coax. Like I could teach you some cool tricks and whatnot. Like you have the potential, okay, Warren? She'd just go back to just air fighting, and if she sees any of the others, well, you want to
Don't fight her. She cheats.
spar?
Bullshit. Go back to your shitmate who's on the basement acting.
Doing all her
spar you.
fancy
I spar you,
footwork
little
and
girl.
whatnot.
So yeah, as the
Zombie
days
little
kind of
girl?
start to whip by,
Okay.
how does Sunny want to spend her couple of days?
Yeah, she'd mostly be still trying to make friends with the Griffins, and she'd actually have moved herself and relics up into the aviary, and every day passes, she feels as if she's getting a stronger bond with them. And surprisingly, the one that she has the strongest bond with is Beltrix. But I just think it's a mutual respect thing, and then the others obviously respect her so heavily that they have started to respect me, and they don't see relics as food any longer.
Absolutely. Give me animal handling to see exactly how well that's going. Actually,
Yeah.
There won't be any setbacks, but
Let's see.
unless you roll like a natural one, then it might get awkward. Nice.
18.
So yeah, with an 18, they definitely you have started to create a bond with them, and they are pretty much comparatively like on the same level as you, as maybe not quite as much, but like with Zephyros, they definitely are quite keen to you now. They would come to you if you called, and that's basically what we'll say. Yeah, you're definitely starting to create a bond.
She would also be spending as much equal time with Relix as well.
being able to create that bond closer as well. And being able to give commands that he would be able to go do his thing and then come back with that command.
Yep,
Maybe
you'd definitely be able to do that
more
well.
specialized commands, so that whatever.
Yep, I'll definitely say with that 18, you've been rolling a lot of good animal handling checks, so I'll say that Relix is becoming pretty trained. He's a highly intelligent creature, so it's not really that surprising to you. But
It's not that; it's just the trust level. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Is really what it comes down to. And she seems to have a knack for this for somebody that's not a natural animal handler. So it's kind of interesting. And then on about 2 or 3 days into that, she's coming downstairs and she just hears Warren grumbling as normal. And yeah, you're looking for sparring partners, are you, little girl?
Yeah, it's always good to keep in practice, especially you never know when the fight's gonna come.
I'm not going to use that silly straight weapon that you used. Think you could face me?
That's fine. Yeah, I can teach you.
I don't want to learn your straight weapon. I'm not interested in that. But let's see what happens.
Okay.
all right, contest it up. Who is the ultimate sparrer?
Oh, not Livy today.
Absolutely. So Sunny, with a display of grace and probably a technique that you're not quite used to, even though you've seen it, is able to actually trump you in this spar.
Livy just smiles, goes like, "Huh, I probably should spar you some more in case I come across this style out there. My life depends upon it."
Might not be a bad idea. And then they would go on, and that would be part. After that day, that would become part of her regimen as well. Eating pancakes, sipping on the wine because Zephyros never stops.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he never stopped.
Yeah, basically, it becomes a thing for you guys that like every time you're coming into a neighboring city, you just like are harping and harping and harping, and he's just like completely assures you that he's gonna make it. But each day, passing a town,
We're out of flour and eggs.
I will say that by the 12th day, you guys pretty much are on like the point of being out of flour and whatnot. But he also assures you that it's only a couple more days travel. As you are soaring above the Sea of Swords coastline, as you pass Neverwinter, as you even cross past the Neverwinter woods and start to reach into the mountainous terrain that is the Icewind Dales and the spine of the world, you see it coming up in the distance as the most recent town you just passed is Luskin. You see that the terrain that was once beautiful in its summery kind of green and lush land slowly start to almost change seasons. But as you head more north, you know that although the seasons are changing and that winter is coming, that it's just the fact that you're heading more north. And as you pass Luskin, you can look below and see nothing but white. And it is no longer the clouds that you're seeing, but the ground itself, as snow has now swept across this cold northlands. As you are definitely up in the Icewind Dale territory, you look below and see nothing but white and gray. No longer trees and green and hilllands. Which is probably quite strange for you, Sunny. As you kind of come outside, you would see that snow is starting to occasionally pile up on the not so like the balconies and stuff, and it occasionally gets swept off, and the griffins start to go out a lot less. And as you would head outside, somehow Zephyros would have his fortress like temperaturized. It would always be comfortable in there. But if you were to go out on the balcony, you would experience probably what I would assume to you is to be like the most searing of cold pains that you've ever experienced. Like you can't believe that weather can get so cold. outside.
And there's no snow on the island of Mestaka at all.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, as that's going on, many days kind of pass, and it's on one particular night, Warren, as you find yourself in a rather kind of sour mood. It's not really that surprise. Maybe you're a little bit ticked off of the schooling that Livy just gave you. And you kind of find yourself out on the balcony. Actually, we're going to actually say that you're below deck for whatever reason, kind of out on the clouds, and you're looking out into the kind of sun setting, and quickly you kind of scan the horizon, and you've been perhaps in a little bit more sour mood than regular, because to everybody else's unbeknownst, we're heading into a territory called the Clouthen Vale. And what the Clouthen Vale is, Zephyros would have explained, is a large mountainous terrain of land that belongs to an ancient red dragon by the name of Klauth. And he rules over all of this land. Although he assured you that there's no reason to be scared, there's no reason that a dragon of his caliber would bother with us. He surely has much more busy things to do. As you start to head into this terrain, though, you find it equally or progressively more and more harder to get like sound sleep and whatnot. So you kind of found yourself below deck, and when you went below deck, it smelt of utter madness. You don't know what the hell Octavius is doing down there. So instead of actually hanging out below deck, you went outside, and you're kind of out walking on the cloud ground beneath you, and you see that snow is piling up on it. And as you look out, the air is fresh and crisp, and you look out into this land that apparently belongs to this ancient red dragon. And as you look, it's mountains as far as you can see in all directions now. What exactly are you doing out here?
Getting away from the smell, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine him, just kind of coughing, going out for a bit of fresh air. In his travels, he probably would have been up through this area at some point in time or another. So he's a sophisticated sort of fellow. So just, getting a lay of the land, just, almost like the artsy beauty of it, I suppose it would be, as he kind of looks across, daydreaming a little bit. Still pissed off about this bullshit training that Livy had something to do with.
How long? And you're probably going through like how long? You're probably bored to death on this thing, like a kid on a long road trip. You literally can't wait to get off more than anything, and it just seems to be going on for an eternity. As you're kind of kicking snow and muttering to yourself, though, you hear a strange sound. It sounds like something swirling, a mechanism of some kind, a puttering, a hum of some kind of mechanical mechanism of some kind. And as you look around in the darkness, you have dark vision, right, as a half elf?
Yeah, a little bit anyway.
Give me a perception check then.
Let's see, perception.
Beautiful. It's not enough.
Snow a bit.
You're looking around and you can't really see anything, so it's much too late for you to really have much of an action to do anything. But what you see is a strange vehicle that's hanging in the sky above you. It slowly starts to drift closer as the sound of what you recognize now, a propeller, cuts through the sky. It looks like a small ship with a sleigh, and there's a giant red balloon on top of it. And I don't know if you as a player recognize it, but Warren thinks back to the weeks before this adventure started, when he got the snot beaten out of him in Neverwinter, and you immediately recognize this airship. And since you failed your perception check, you see harpoons shoot out from it and sink into the cloud ground and somehow catch into this cloud. And 8 figures, all dressed in black, can be seen standing aboard as the airship starts to draw closer and closer. Stepping forth is the one hooded figure in particular that steps up and pulls her cloak down. And you see vibrant, flowing red hair and a pretty young face that looks none too impressed to see yours.
Ugh, It's been a long time, beautiful. How have you been?
Don't call me that, Warren.
Ugh. It's better than calling you ugly, right?
You know why we're here. Don't make this any more painful than it has to be. Klaus is looking for a payment. What do you got? I got to admit, I thought for sure he'd kill you by now. But the fact that you were able to somehow commandeer this cow giant castle, it annoys me, but he will be impressed.
Well, of course. Just like you are, I'm sure. You can admit it. Go ahead.
It takes far, far more than that to impress me, especially with a despicable street scum like yourself. She actually stutters and looks annoyed at herself for doing so.
Ah, see, you like me. Don't lie. Many women stutter when they look upon this.
The only thing I would like about you is seeing your throat slit. Now, did you kill the giant or is he captured? We can take the castle from here. It'll take a couple days' journey, but we'll just bring it to Klaus' lair, and he'll be definitely pleased that you captured this castle. Sure.
Ugh, I didn't capture the castle. I'm just riding up over the thing to go do my duties and find more better places for Klaus. But I got a few trinkets for him.
A couple of the hooded figures start to whisper, and you hear, like, "Are you shitting me? Like, did he actually just say that?" To which Delphine looks at you and says, "Do you mean to tell me that you're aligning yourself with a giant? You know that giants are the ancient enemies of all dragons, right? Klaus would be furious to find this out. Surely you're not stupid enough to align yourself with a giant, and you're just pulling one of your stupid fucking jokes, and the giant is either dead or captured. Tell me you're not that stupid, Warren."
Ugh. Well, I tell you what, and you'll hold out his hand, like he has something.
The ship is drawn in close enough now, and basically a drawbridge kind of flips out, and she walks out onto the drawbridge and walks up to you. She looks at you with just pure disgust and says, "Oh, you're so much more annoying than I even remember. Just seeing your face, I want to punch it so bad."
Do any of the other of us see this?
You guys are all upstairs. Some time has went by now since you've all seen Warrendell. So while this is going down, anyone who thinks they would notice that Warrendell is missing can give a perception check.
You guys probably wouldn't see him around a whole lot anyway, but
yeah, Warren probably is pretty known for disappearing for long periods of time. And usually when he does disappear, you would think of it as better off not to bug him during these times.
Yeah, but what about the sky ship?
It came in pretty quiet. Unless you were outside, you'd have very little chance of hearing it.
What about
because you guys are basically above deck, 50 meters up into the middle of the deck, and it came down below. And it does have a propeller, but in comparison to the temperaturized spell that he has kind of casted, it's basically like a modified Leomund's Hut or some variation of that, where it cuts off all the cold and whatnot for you guys. So it's up to you, though. If you think for some reason you'd be investigating, you can definitely roll a perception check. What did you say, Libby? You're muted.
you're muted.
She's too busy reading a spell book.
Yep, we'll get to that. What about you, Octavius? Are you doing anything, or are you just working on your tomatoes? If you're working on your tomatoes, you probably would have seen Warren head outside, actually.
No, I think I'd probably be up on top, trying to stay away from the wonderful garden that I've created for our giant friend.
Disappointing at all costs. Perfect. And what about you, Sonny? Do you think that you would notice, or is it just Warren being grumpy again?
I don't think it would have been me that noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may have been either the Griffins or Rilix that may have noticed.
I'll say that actually Rilix has a really good chance of maybe noticing. I'll give you that. So maybe if you want to give him a perception check.
Yeah. Give me just 1 second. I was getting to it.
I can't remember if I have the stat block for him somewhere, but you can just use your own. I'm sure that it's.
I have it too.
Give me just 1 second.
Yep.
I have it right here. Right here. I just had to get to the right program. Here it is. All right. +5 to perception and keen smell.
Yep.
Does it make a what is it powered by? Would it make an odor?
It wouldn't make an odor, no.
Okay. I'm just, I mean, like if it was like
that's a good question, but definitely not. It is operated by something rather strange.
Right. So I'm just gonna roll a regular D20
Mm-hmm.
and add 5. She didn't know. He didn't notice by any means for some reason.
Big. That would have been interesting. But since it's so cold out, Relix doesn't really like going outdoors, so she
Yeah.
kind of been hanging in.
Yeah.
Or
No.
he-
Actually he and there's one of them that has a really funny name.
Smoochies.
Smoochies and Relix have gotten really not like gross friendly, but super friendly, and they were playing and chasing each other around the aviary.
That's where the griffin eggs are coming from.
So
Yeah.
as you hold your hand out to Delphine, she reluctantly holds hers out and says, "I swear to God, if you put something disgusting in my hand, I will kill you here."
Ugh, no, I wonder. He'll just kind of hold his hand out and be like,
Oh God.
be like, ha! I got you. But no. Seriously. We're just using my friend, my acquaintance giant here to do a bit of bidding and working around and getting some good stuff for Klaus. Don't you worry. I have a few things for him, but you go back and you tell him, like the little pissant that you are, that I got this under control.
It doesn't work that way, Warren. We're here now.
Well, then go take the castle, go for it.
You give us something.
I just did. You need more.
She stares at you.
Says
So
you can't kill me because, he'll be pissed off as it is, so
let me get
have the higher edge here.
She looks at you and kind of smiles, and she actually looks happy that you're saying this. And she says, "So you're telling me that you want me to go back and tell Klaus that you refuse to make your first payment?"
No, I got stuff for him. Don't worry.
Well,
I'll just have more later.
she pulls out a bag along her shoulders and says, "Let's have it. Let's see how well of an employee you are. I've been telling him since the day that he hired you that you're going to do nothing but fail him, but go ahead. Prove me wrong."
Trying to think if you would... Being that he had that little relic from way back when in his bag, he wouldn't want the others to know about it, so he probably would keep his main little bag, like his shoulder bag or whatever, on him most times. So yeah, he'd have it. He'll stare at her for a few moments. Such a bitch sometimes. I don't understand. But yeah, he'll take out this, like that elven skull thing there that he had, and hold it up for her. What is she, a race? She was drow?
She's actually human.
Oh, okay. So he'll hold it up and look at it for a few. Like, I don't know what it is, but it was worth a lot of money. People were quite protective over it, so perhaps he can figure it out. And in the meantime, we'll go on and do the rest of my duties around here. You don't need to worry.
Absolutely. All right, and you drop that in, and she looks and says, "One skull." It's been how long now? Almost a month, and one skull is your first payment. She kind of
I got the castle, but I need it.
To which point, as she opens the bag, she kind of holds it out, pulls it out in front of her, and it's this medium-sized, almost pack-sized bag, and it seems quite full. But as she opens it, it almost seems to like deflate. And then as you drop the skull in, it kind of just sinks in and doesn't really seem to make any kind of difference in the bag itself. But let me see here. You suddenly feel something on you. And as you do, you kind of start to flap around because you could have swore something's picking through your pockets. And as you do, you look behind you, and floating there are 2 gemstones that you got from Nightstone. You remember that Morak gave them to you as payment, and they now seem to be floating there behind you. Delphine, you felt it at least, but Delphine looks at you and says, Warrendale, you're not holding out on us, are you?
These were for you, my love. I just wanted to impress this lady of mine. I suppose if you need them, I don't need them. Just piss-ass things. I took more from Klaus than that's worth.
Yes, that's true. Is there anything else on this ship that's of value? You can see my little friend here is quite good at getting in unnoticed.
I think at this point, if Octavius could burst through the door, say, hey, Warren, who's your friends? Would they like a tomato?
Why, yes, they would, Octavius. He's my slave, don't worry. Why don't you get them a few tomatoes to go? Here, put them in her bag. She's here. She's looking for tomatoes, I guess.
She looks at you and says, are we going to have to kill him?
Sometimes. He's quite knowledgeable. He's the one who's taken me on these treasure hunts. He knows where all the good treasure is. Don't worry.
So you're right when you say that I would probably be in trouble if I killed you right now. Klaus has a way with these things. But I can also tell you right now that if I told him that you've befriended a giant and are sailing through his castles and all you have to offer him is a skull and a couple of worthless gemstones, she tells the creature that somehow is invisibly there to give him back to you. I can tell you right now that I won't have to kill you. Klaus will be upon you, and there'll be nothing that you can do. Yeah. Now, if you give me anything else, maybe there's something in this castle that my little friend here can snag. Then maybe we'll make it worth your time. Maybe I won't give such a bad report.
He said, but you'd be lying, because I've never said I was friends with the giant. I never heard such words come out of my mouth. Just that I'm using him.
I doubt that very much, he says.
Well, I'll take my chances. I got tomatoes, though. One moment, let me get you some more tomatoes.
I don't want your fucking tomatoes, she says. Warren, you hear this very good-looking, red-headed human just kind of glare at you with... It's cold outside right now. Probably colder than you've experienced in possibly ever. But the stare that she gives you is somehow even colder than that. And that's to you, Octavius, as you're offering your shitty tomatoes.
Octavius would basically just hold the tomatoes out, look at her, see the look. With his arms straight out, he would continue to do a 180 turn and walk back where he came from, probably as quick as he got there.
I'll tell you what, why don't you come and you can hang out in the castle and have some pancakes. My other slave makes excellent pancakes. You can search around all you want and take whatever you want. I just needed to fly places. Unless you're scared, of course. I understand if you're going to be a pussy and just fly away.
I'm very busy. I don't have time to have pancakes.
See, that's what I figured.
Well,
don't say I didn't offer.
I'm pretty disappointed, but she says, and she makes a kind of clicking noise. We'll see what you have to offer. And you guys just kind of stand there momentarily. Is there anything else you'd want to do? She just kind of like almost seems like she's done with you. And it's not going to... You're just going to smile? All right.
So beautiful as ever, my dear.
All right. And give me a couple seconds to look through some interesting information. All right, and do a couple of these. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, Relix is not interested. So I figured maybe because they were inside that he might be able to see something, but nope, he only got one better.
Beautiful. All right, interesting. Moments kind of pass, and then you're kind of just standing there, like smiling at her, and she's just sneering at you. And the invisible figure that you can't see suddenly starts to come back, and you don't really notice this until you start to hear the jingling of stuff. And then you look behind you, and you see what looks like a sack full of miscellaneous shit, some of which is pretty huge and protruding. And this invisible whatever is holding a bag and kind of comes by and drops it into the bag itself that Delphine is holding. And she looks at you and kind of shakes her head. So, I guess this is all you have to offer.
Look at all that good stuff. You're welcome.
I'll be sure to make a very detailed report to Klaus about how this...
Well, at that point, I think Octavius would be like, you can't take that.
It's okay, Octavius.
That's not yours.
It's best to let her go, because she's in a bad mood anyway.
She looks at you again.
Well, we'd have to tell her.
Am I going to have to kill this one? She looks at you again.
And I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I could use them to get more stuff. I mean, then you're just killing my work, and how am I supposed to get shit done if you're killing all my labor? I mean, come on.
All right, then. We will be on our way, Warren. And they start to turn and do up the drawbridge.
He'll just stare at her ass.
Does Octavius do anything? As Warren tells you it's going to be okay, but...
Look at the way she swings them hips, Octavius.
Warren, I don't think we should really let them go with that. That's not their stuff. We should probably tell our giant friend, I mean, this isn't right. What the hell's going on here, buddy?
Well, it's best to let her go for the moment. It's nothing worthwhile in there right now, and we're asking for more trouble if we worry about it right this second.
Oh, oh no.
I think Octavius will see the game, possibly the future deeds, and he'll let the mouse go to get the cat later.
To which she nods and says, well, one way or another, I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon enough. Hopefully it's with your head cut off and mantled in Klaus' lair. But in the meantime, he told me to give you this. And she reaches into a bag and throws you another smaller bag, to which you kind of catch. And what you feel like is there's some kind of powder in there. And she looks at you and says, I know you think you're a very good talker, Warren. I know you think you're smooth. I know you think you're smart. But know this, that with Klaus, your words will never pay your debts. We'll be back, and it better be a lot more impressive this time, the next time. Or I swear to God, I'll make sure that I'm the one that gets to do it.
Till next time, my lovely. You blow her a kiss.
She spits and starts to pull up the drawbridge, and you feel the harpoons disconnect from the cloud itself, and the propellers start to wind up, and the air balloons start to pump full of air, and they slowly start to drift away as you and Octavius are just kind of standing there in the cold. The wind kind of howls by you as a big drift of snow kind of gets picked up and carried along, and the airship takes off into the darkness.
Always want to play hard to get.
What was all that about, Warren?
Well, you can keep a secret, right?
Yeah, that's sure.
Think of it like this. There's good people and there's bad people. Those were the bad people. Actually, she's a bit of a bitch. And her employer, well, he's quite large and controls a lot of things. It's best just to stay quiet. But I'll give you the lowdown one of these times.
We can deal with this as a group if you tell everybody. We can get this out of the way.
Well, I don't want you all to die, so I'd just rather take it upon myself. I owe you my life as it
Maybe we
is.
Maybe we could help you pay your debt.
Well, have you ever killed a dragon?
Not yet.
Huh.
No.
No, I didn't think so. So it won't be of much use. But one of these days, what is the dragon's name? Didn't he go by something else?
He goes by Old Snarl.
Once in a while.
Only his enemies call him Klaus, I guess. So every time she says that, it was meant as a threat.
What do the people know him as? Like, what would Octavius know him as? I'd probably call him whatever.
Octavius would probably know him if he did as Klaus. But to his like inner people and the people that he employs for this business that he runs, they know him as Old Snarl.
Yeah, I'll give Octavius the basic lowdown. Be like, well, there's this dragon. He controls it's like a mafia, a trading den. Shakes people up for a bit of cash. Being me, I took him for all he is because obviously the dragon's an idiot. And, I took all of his money and he lost in bets, and now he thinks he can shake me down to repay the debts. But I'll take care of it somewhere down the road. But until then, I need to bid my time. I think saving these people is more important right now.
Give me a history check, Octavius.
Yeah, okay. All right, then.
You have a plus
14.
1 to history.
15, then.
All right. So when he mentions the name Klaus, you remember from your studies back at the church in Utah, that name is a name of legends. It's known as probably the largest dragon in Faerun and the most feared and most powerful. Absolutely huge, old as Faerun itself. His body is riddled with old, wicked-looking scars from the dragons and many foes that he's defeated as growing up. There's not quite a dragon like Klaus in Faerun. Many try to rise and outdo him, but in the long run, he is by far the most powerful. And just to actually hear Warrendell say that he owes him something would send a shiver down pretty much anyone's spine. Like, Warren doesn't seem to fully comprehend what he necessarily has himself into.
He's completely ignorant of it.
But you would know that name. You would know Klaus.
So the old dragon bastard thinks I'm going to give him money and pay his debts. Man, I'll take care of him down the road, though. Don't worry.
Just remember that we're here, my friend. If you need something, we're right here.
I owe you enough as it is.
All right. You guys head back upstairs after a moment, I'm assuming, unless you want to say anything else. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut anyone off.
Yeah, unless he had anything else.
Nope.
Warren would head right back to his room. Just pass by the others, looking still as grumpy. Bullshit, anyway.
Yeah, they would. Zephyros would see that you guys were covered in snow and be like, "You guys were gone for a while. Did you go on an expedition of some kind?" Well, Warren, I know.
Trying to sell some tomatoes.
Zephyros, you haven't really seen Zephyros necessarily angry, but every time you bring up the tomatoes and the mess that you made in his common grounds, he gets a little annoyed, and he just kind of mentions how he's been telling you to like clean that up forever, and that it smells absolutely rancid, and like how dare you go into his basement and shit all over the place, and then grow tomatoes in it. You don't necessarily like. Zephyros doesn't get mad, but this is the closest thing he gets to it. It's just flustered.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyways,
can't even argue.
Yeah. He tells you that you're only. Let me zoom in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly 4 or 5 days away from the end of your journey. and that he knows that you're kind of gone stir crazy, Warren, and that he'll try to fly the castle as quick as he can so that you guys finally get your feet on land. But to not look so grumpy all the time. There's lots of chances in life, and you guys have been given a great chance to make a difference. And with all chances comes many opportunities, he says to you. He kind of smiles at himself. Like he just said something deep, but to you it just sounds pretty silly. And then if you just kind of brush by him, he looks at the group, who's all kind of doing their own thing. I almost said Willow. Livy is probably busy away reading her spell, which I almost literally forgot. Now that I was going to close the session out and forget. But you've been spending some time with Zephyros, and you've come across his spell book. And he's been going through it with you because you've kind of had a touch for those kind of things, but you're definitely by no means a wizard. But there is one spell in particular that kind of stood out to you. And what spell was that in particular?
Slow.
And
The slow spell?
And as you do that, Zephyros would know that you've kind of taken a liking to it. And he would just say, so that interests you, that spell, does it?
Oh, yeah.
It's
It's time manipulation. It sounds fun.
It's pretty complicated, but I'm pretty sure that I could
See.
teach you it. And as you look at it, it's just very intricate. I don't even know if you speak Giant, so it's probably even hard to comprehend it at the very least. But for whatever reason, you're able to determine that.
She can cast comprehend language, and
there you go. So then you're able to. Yeah,
it's still so much more sense, but I'm not trying to translate on my own.
It's still extremely complicated, even in your own native language. But he tells you that he could potentially teach you it. Now, the problem is that your connection to the weave, he says, may not be strong enough to innately cast such a spell. But if you could find something, a component powerful enough, you might be able to maybe manipulate it and kind of bypass, he says. And he starts talking like pretty technical, which is really strange for him because he's usually pretty aloof when it comes to speaking. But when he starts to talk about magic, you can tell that there's still some intelligence to him. To which point he would say, go ahead and shoot your crossbow at me. Here, right in the face, he says. Right here, point, shoot. Go ahead, right now. Hurry, come on.
Okay. Pulls it out. Note this, like, and she pulls the trigger.
And he kind of smiles. And you,
smart.
Yeah, I imagine you like kind of shoot, close your eyes momentarily, and as you wait for that sickening thud, because his face was like just seconds, like maybe a few feet in front of you, you don't hear any kind of contact. And as you look over, you see that he's kind of surrounded himself in some kind of arcanic energy, and you look, and the arrow is slowly traveling towards his face, and then he kind of smiles and moves out of the way and grabs it, and then redirects it, and then lets go, and then does a chant, and then the slow spell ends, and the arrow rips through, coming out of the slow time, and heads out the door into the darkness of the night. And he says, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could teach you how to do this. It might be tricky to actually get you how to use it, but if you could find something, some kind of component, you might be able to. Yeah, you have a lot of potential. I can see."
And she just smiles, like, okay, component. I think, well, here it calls for molasses. Too bad we used the last of it on pancakes.
He says, "Yeah, that won't work anyways. It's much. You're gonna need something much more powerful than that. But I'm sure we'll figure it out." And with that, we kind of pan around as we're about to end the session, and everybody is off doing their own things. I imagine Octavius is tending to his beautiful tomatoes. Sunny is kind of nestled in with the Griffins and Rilix, working on training him some more and bonding with the Griffins. Livy, you're currently sitting in the main common area, kind of reading the spell and going through lectures where he's teaching you like the command words, the somatic components of the spell, just the very basics. And Warren, you're kind of walking through to your own like little corner. I imagine in some way, maybe not like you. I don't think Warren would necessarily be scared, but shaken in some way from that encounter, knowing that you've seen the ferocity that is Klaus. And maybe you don't understand fully how dangerous it is, but you've seen him up close. And just to see a dragon of that caliber is a sickening experience. So no matter how tough guy Warren plays it in front of people, you're having that moment where you're just questioning, like, should you have betrayed your friends and given up this castle? It probably would have been a lot easier. Why didn't you do that? It's really strange that you do. And you feel this bag that she kind of gives you, and you open it up, and what you look inside and see is just a pile of powder. And you kind of sift through it and pick it up and drop it. And as you start to drop it, it starts to sparkle and glow as it sifts back down into the bag. You can give me an arcane check to see if you figure out what this is at the end of the session or not.
19.
You recognize it as pixie dust. Pixies are innately very magical creatures, and it's said that their dust itself are known to be at times very random in what they can do, but also very powerful. And they're also known to contain a lot of the magical energy in them. So a lot of times pixie dust can be used in replace of components for certain spells. And you look around at your group and kind of put this pixie dust back in your pocket, and you look, and I imagine that for the first time in a while, you think that you literally just like potentially risked your life for these people by not betraying them. That's probably a pretty weird thought for Warren, if I imagine correctly, right?
Mm-hmm. Anybody who's around would notice his normal demeanor, I suppose, but he would be maybe more agitated or more nervous. You know, he kind of paces back and forth, mumbling to himself a little bit. You can see when he looks at you guys, like he's wants to say something or is thinking about it, or, you know, he'll look over at Octavius, but he never really does anything before finally just heading off to his room. He does stop for just a second, though, and turns towards Zephyros. Zeph, my friend.
Yes,
Would you
Warren,
mind if I used your library? I want to do a little research.
by all means, it's all yours. It has been this whole entire time. We're friends now. And that's what friends do.
That they do. Yeah, he'll head on into the library.
All right. And then without any further ado, then I think we will end the session for the night at 2 a.m., which isn't really that over. I think that's pretty spot on. So that was a lot of fun. Everybody in the entire party definitely take a point of inspiration. It was great to have you guys back, and it was like you guys didn't miss a beat. Everyone was right back into it. So that was a lot of fun. I got some behind the scenes things to do that we'll talk about. But other than that, a lot of fun, guys. And I hope that finally, now that we're kind of through that scheduling crap, that we can at least get back to a semi-regular schedule, because next session will be titled Arrival to Bryn Sanders. You will finally be getting off the goddamn castle. And I'm pretty sure, I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure everyone leveled up to level 5 tonight too. So until next time, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Peace out, and thanks a lot.